good afternoon, and we are live. We are live on PharSide Pholios. There you go.
Hello.
We're here. I think there's a little bit of a delay.
All right. Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of PharSide Pholios. I am your host, Monica Leek, managing editor of the PharSide Co-ed Book Club, and again, the host of PharSide Pholios. We are today for the month of December celebrating Read a New Book Month. So what better way to celebrate than to have an amazing interview with some great, exciting authors, both new and established. So today, our guests are Brendan and Lori O'Gara. Both of them are just amazing authors and have a long list of books that they've written individually, but also together. Both Brendan and Lori have write fantasy, contemporary fiction, and in nonfiction genres. They've published novels together as well as individually. They reside a few miles from where they grew up in Perdido Key, Florida. And when not at the beach, which sounds lovely right now, writing or reading, they can be found wandering the stacks in a library, perusing antique stores and thrift shops, playing tabletop role-playing games, or spending time with their family. A large blended family that consists of 6 children, 7 grandchildren, and 1 dog named Harley Quinn. Brendan O'Gara. That's Brendan O'Gara. And so he definitely has a passion and lives life as a new adventure just around the corner. He's an avid gamer since he was a child and continues to play D&D, Pathfinder, and other games, amazing games. His experiences gaming, and he's got a passion for cooking, gave him the inspiration to write a fantastical cookbook. What's that all about? And he's published novels of dark fantasy, steampunk fantasy in collaboration with his wife, Lori. And when not gaming or writing, again, spends his time with family and adventures with his children and a Staffordshire named Harley Quinn, of course. And we can't forget Harley. Yeah. And Lori is a writer of contemporary fiction, fantasy, and real life commentary. Advocate for human decency, believes that magic is real and love is a gift from God. And she's happiest with her feet in the sugar white sand on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico. And when not at the beach, writing or reading, she can be found wandering the stacks in her library, watching Doctor Who, or spending time with her family. So welcome to the Far Side, Lori and Brendan O'Gara.
Thank you for having us. We're happy to be here.
Thank you very much. That's an awesome intro.
Right?
Oh my goodness. So this is a first. This is a first. We've normally had, single authors, but wow, you guys are a writing duo, pair, couple. So how is that to write together as a pair?
It's fun and challenging sometimes, but we have a good time writing. We have both have different styles of writing, so sometimes we have to work real close to make it match. I write more contemporary fiction, where Brendan writes more fantasy. So this collaboration of fantasy was new genre and everything for me. But it's fun. We enjoy it.
We are, I know, a different breed than most of your other authors out there, in that if you have duos or even trios of authors working together, people will write things and then the other one will read and then start to write something like that. Whereas with us, she's always, what? Explain this. Read the next page. No, explain this. Read the next page. Oh, okay, this is where I come in, right? Yes, this is where you come in. And that note there that says your stuff goes here, that's where you write your stuff. So we're different. I know.
So you have sort of a pattern of writing together, or like a strategy or framework for writing together?
We do. We have we usually do a plot diagram because I'm very visual. So we'll have at least a loose idea of where we want our story to go. But, as probably any writer can tell you, we'll start down that path and then our characters will take us this way. So we try to start out with at least the nuts and bolts of what we want to do.
We also have vastly different writing styles.
We do, yeah.
Many authors start out with, I know where I'm going to start, I know where I'm going to go, I know where I'm going to end. I seat of my pants.
He knows.
I go, I'm going to go here. I don't know where I'm going to go, but I'm going to end up here eventually.
Mm-hmm. He's very much a
stream of consciousness.
Yeah, and a scene writer. So he'll write a scene and a scene and a scene. Where I write more linear. I usually write the first few chapters of my book and then the end, and then write linear. Where he writes all over the place, and then we kind of have to mesh it together. And we have a wonderful editor. If it wasn't for Kim Hunther, our editor, I don't know. She helps us put it together too. So.
That is amazing. It really is, just to think that you are able to, with different styles, from the more kind of flowy style to something that's more straight-laced and, step by step, kind of line by line, and then bring those together in story in a clear and beautiful way. And we're talking today about your book, Traveler's Song. Traveler's Song. So you open with this following quote: "The landscape had deteriorated significantly over time. Nature has a way of reclaiming that which is her own. The lush green canopy and the crystal blue water were like the beginning of time, unpolluted, pure, and innocent. However, the world was anything but innocent." So how do current events and time shape the telling of your story, whether through characters, your setting, or plot, thinking about climate change, global pandemic, etc.?
We don't have any of that in our book, really.
Okay, did I mix up my questions?
No, your question is fine.
Your question's
we are writing a fantasy setting. None of that comes into play. We create everything, every bit of social tension, every bit of racial tension, every bit of gender tension, every bit of tension between races we come up with. I have a point of not looking at the news.
Not while we're writing a whole lot. Okay. I mean, I do a little bit because I'm a public librarian, so I kind of need to know for my job what's going on in the world. But we don't watch a lot of TV. When we do, it's specific, and we generally don't watch the genres that we're working in at the time. Because
I don't want to be accused of being derivative of somebody else's
Yeah,
writing.
we're real careful about getting our influences for our writing, fresh and,
our own ways.
Yeah, our own stuff.
Good question.
Well, good, because you have so many different, writing forms where you can see where they've been taken right from from yesterday's news or last night's, 24 hours news snippet, and maybe they come out a year later or a couple of months later, and you see how those kind of things play into effect. But
there's a readership for that. I mean, there's some people that I'm sure enjoy reading that kind of thing. With fantasy, our thing is we want to take people away from life for a while, you know, give them an escape and somewhere else maybe to get away from that. And especially during COVID, we were like, oh my goodness, all these things are coming out about pandemics and diseases. I said, let's don't do that. Let's don't go there in our writing. So we've avoided it to give people an escape.
And I liked what you said about just escape, a place, a time, and to characters to, come out of, maybe their current thinking or what is possibly boggling them down and come into a story or step into a place, a time, and just into another world. So escape, I like the word. I feel like that's a good space to be in, right about now as, things change and things are happening around us. You just need a little bit of escape to even, encourage yourself, motivate yourself to move a little bit forward. In the opening of the story, there's this young girl. She's out enjoying nature, the beauty of the day, and then something sparks her curiosity, causes her to draw closer and closer, and she takes a little glimpse of a man she thinks to be a nobility with a book, and she watches from a distance and catches a good glimpse of the man, and he's casting a spell of sorts, and she's able to see something like a sword rise from the waters. What will the role of magic in this book, and will its form take that traditional route as, when you have, think of, some of the fantasy books you have, the big book of spells, and, there's the wizard or the one with all of the knowledge who casts, the spells with words and wands and things of that nature. Can readers expect some kind of twist in how magic forms and takes shape in this story from what may be the norm?
I'll go, then you go. Okay. Our story is set in about 4,000 years advanced from now. You think of it that way. So a lot of technology remains in pieces and pockets, and a lot of that is looked at as magic. Then we do have the element that words and books and those sort of things are magical, but they're more magical in that they're rare, and knowledge is currency because a lot of history was lost. And we do have a wizard type character that uses books more in that way than we don't have magic wands and things like that.
I have written 2 different types of magic in the book.
Yeah.
There is a soft magic system, which is based on Eldritch. And Eldritch, you do this and do that and hope that this happens. You're not sure because it's a soft magic system. And there's a hard magic system which runs on ether.
Okay.
And ether, you do this and that, and you get this, period, the end. So there's 2 different schools and types of magics within the books. But magic is both a big part of life and not. It's geographically centered in that people in cities are used to ether. They are not used to soft magic. They want to know this is going to happen when I do this. Whereas people on the outskirts of the cities that don't go to big cities are used to soft magic.
Now, your chapter 2 of Travelers, we have Gadlin, who's a Talon, a nature expert, healer, and druid. Wandalore, possibly a wizard with his head buried in a book. Johann, who's a musician storyteller. And Dar, who within his first few paragraphs is nonstop talking about the past and everything he had. What was the background of these characters, and what are how do they develop through the story?
You got to read the book.
All right, you heard it here first, all of our viewers. You've got to pick up the book.
You got to read the book.
You've got to pick up the book, available, and it's available on Amazon. So you can find out more about the travelers and what it is they're looking for, searching for, or running contact with. So without giving away the story, can you guys share the premise of the book?
Okay. So the premise is this. I'm going to tell you a story and show you another book. However, here it is. The premise is that this group has been sent out from their emperor, their king, to go out and find the greatest food in all the kingdoms. Okay, that's what their cover is. They're actually scouts going out to look at the defenses and the capabilities of other cities that the emperor may invade. Now, where did all these guys come from? They came from this book here, Gadlin O'Hale's Fantastic Recipes. Now, yes, it's a cookbook, and I decided when I wrote it, I needed a hook, because all the celebrity chefs, all those people have their name, so they can put their cookbook out and everybody will buy it based on just that. Instead, I said, you know what? I need a hook. What's it going to be? And I came up with a story about I found this book of recipes in my grandfather's attic, wrapped up in a deer cloth. And I translated all the recipes and put them down. And in between each recipe, I put, a note on what is good manners and what can help you in this situation, what can help you in that. And then I said, you know what? Let's do a little bit more fantasy. So I put stories and ideas and scenes that might have showed up in a fantasy book. So I put this out there. And after I went to a few festivals for a year, and I went to a few book signings, and had 100 people come to me and say, Brendan, your food's great. Recipes are easy to follow. You've even got a 3-page recipe on how to make an apple pie, from how to make the crust all the way through completion. That's all great. What happens to the people in this story? So I had to write this book.
Yeah, so he says to me, would you like to co-write a fantasy novel? I'm like, all right, I've not written that before, but let's go. So we took his characters that he developed through these old stories and put them in this new universe, and it just kept growing and growing and growing.
Well, Fallon is a druid, and Gadlin is a ranger. Dar is your quintessential paladin. And Dar is in the back of the wagon, and he's reminiscing about the things that he had, that he used to have. Oh, that horse. Butter blonde, that horse was. And he reminisces about these things, about the things that he misses that he doesn't have anymore.
Moody and broody.
Because when you read further on in the book, it explains why he doesn't have those things anymore, where his belongings went.
And why he misses his horse.
Why he misses his horse.
So this particular book is classified as steampunk. How do you describe that particular genre to those who may not be as familiar with that genre?
Everybody should be familiar with the fantasy realms, like 14th century type of area. Well, this is taking that and say the Victorian age and clashing them together.
Mm-hmm.
Like there will be probably dirigibles. There's probably going to be gaslight in cities, things of that nature.
Because there's
Mhm.
leftover technology, from what's modern to us now in our stories in the future. So there's modern technology that that doesn't work because there's not electricity anymore. There is, but it's not the same. It's all steam driven, and it's very
That's the ether.
Yeah.
The fact is, it takes 4,000 years. It takes place 4,000 years in the future, and some of our compendium books start now and work towards.
We have we don't have what we call like there's not prequels or anything, but we have these little novellas that are different places on the timeline. So this is one, and this is another one, and then we have this one. So they're all, some of the characters in here aren't in Traveler's Song yet, but there is. There's one that he's in all of the books. And so we get on these side quests of stories like, oh, this is a great story, but then Traveler's Song kept getting so big, so we pulled out these other bits and parts, and we still have 2 other main novels in the series to finish. But the steampunk is really in the technology of the universe, in the way that machines work, and yeah.
Something else that I feel I need to put out there is that I leave it to the reader to decide who they think is really the antagonist of the book and who's really the protagonist of the book. It's up to you to decide who you think the bad guy is and who you think the good guy is, because it's not always who we think it is. And like it or not, everybody in the world thinks that they are the hero of their own story. It doesn't matter who they are. They think they're the hero.
Yeah, and all of our characters are that way. They all think they're the hero in some way or another.
Now, this book is like book 1 of the Necromancer's Song. So what about this one makes the story really special to you? And, what's the challenge of writing a series versus just a singular novel versus a book that will launch or be the beginning or the prequel or the final episode of a series?
That's it. That's the challenge. The deciding where to stop, because we could have kept going with Traveler's Song, because I feel like they are, even at the very end of Traveler's Song, that they're just at the beginning. So that finding the stopping point to roll it into the next book is challenging. And we call it our trilogy because we do have the next 2 outlined and half written, but it may end up growing to be past that, because our characters are growing and our world. We start out with this one little idea, and this whole, it just, every time we sit down to write it, we come up with another storyline, like, oh, that character needs more, and so it may end up being more than a trilogy.
I have a difficult time of coming up with ideas to be all-encompassing, and here it is, all in one place. I would go, here's this, there's something else over here that may come, you may want to look at this later on, and then there's also this over here. So I have a hard time with just...
Yeah, we have a lot of material. A lot of material.
Well, that will keep you writing and publishing for a long time. Seeing that you have this, for those who are new to the works of Brendan and Lori, Oh God, they have tons of things that they've written. We saw Gatlin O'Hale's fantastic recipes, which Brendan showed. We will get there, away from there. The two, believe, there and back, and all of those are run the range of genre. As so, what is the thing that has drawn you to the fantasy world, and how is that different, for each of you, from writing, in your other genres, fantasy versus contemporary, doing something like something novel versus short story kind of thing?
Well, I primarily write contemporary fiction. I have the Perdido Key series is We Will Get There, Away from There. That series that you mentioned, it's contemporary. It's based in the area of Perdido Key. Well, it starts out there where we grew up. It's got a little bit of fantasy in it, in that I have some Native American folklore in that book, and a little bit of a conspiracy kind of thing. So it's a little psychological thriller a little bit, but and there's romance in my contemporary fiction, so there's a little of that. And then my nonfiction is what Brendan has nicknamed No BS Christianity, because I just kind of put it out there and let people use their good common sense to figure out how they want to take it. I don't preach at people. I'm just, but it is thought-provoking, inspirational type things. So that's where my brain kind of lives, contemporary fiction and that. And he mostly only writes fantasy and sci-fi. So it was a big jump for me to write fantasy for him. Like if he was to sit down and try to write a contemporary fiction, he would be like, no, I'm not going to do that. So we still have our own little niches, even though we decided at the very beginning that we were going to do this thing called publishing together. So even though we have all these different genres, instead of splitting it up and promoting him separately, we're a team. So we do everything together. Even with my contemporary fiction, I call him my research assistant, because I'll throw something out there and say, hey, could you look up this theory for me, or look up this place for me, and tell me about it while I'm over here writing. He's behind me researching bits for me. So even though I'm the author on that, he's still my assistant, and so we were already writing together.
You can see this dragon behind me. It's actually right in front of my monitor. We sit back to back and write, because if we sit face to face, it's me doing this. Do you sure you want to say that? And looking at her screen instead of mine. That's not the way you spell that.
Yeah.
Don't you know what that word means? That's what we back to back. You can say, hey, what is so and so? It's this. How do you spell so? Well, okay. I know we can do F7, but still, how do you spell this?
Yeah, so even though we write different things, we're still part of each other's work, writing either way. So yeah.
That we kind of like each other.
Yeah, I kind of like you a little bit. Yeah.
We've been.
So that is awesome. It's almost like having your own beta reader right behind you.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it is. So when he puts a corny joke in there, I can edit it out before it gets to the editor.
It's happened so many times.
He has these, we have lots of kids, so he has lots of dad jokes, and he sometimes tries to slide them in. And I'm like, no, it doesn't go there. Take it out.
I'm going to get the chicken tender joke in there eventually.
No, you're not.
So the Traveler's Song, what is something you hope that readers will take away from the book, and that encourages them to pick up the next in the series? So takeaways, lessons to learn, observations that you hope readers will get.
I think the biggest one for me is that there's good and light in every person, even the worst criminal or villain you can think of. There's some light in everyone, no matter what.
For me, it's the idea that you're never too old to learn. It doesn't matter how old you get. You are never too old to learn and pass on what you have learned.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some powerful lessons for our viewers watching live and those who will catch the replay to take note of. And then, of course, we have within our book club and with those who watch us, come back to watch us, those who are beginning writers or in different phases of writing. So could each of you give a word of encouragement or a word of wisdom, a nugget, a golden nugget to help those on their writing journey?
Okay, I'm going to go first with a lesson I learned the hard way, the really hard way. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It doesn't matter what you might have heard. Do not read reviews. Write. Don't stop writing. Write. That's all there's to it. Write for you.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
All right.
I agree with all of that. Also, let's see. I would add, save everything. Every scrap of note you write, every little bit, because you never know when it's going to come into play later.
Or when you're going to lose it.
Or when you're going to lose it. Yeah, keep everything in multiple places. Paper, computer, backup, flash drives. Just don't delete anything. And sort of along with what he said, don't listen to those people that say you can't. If someone says you can't write that, you can't publish that, you shouldn't publish that, don't worry about it. No one's going to read that. Okay, fine. Maybe they don't. I know that our books are not for everyone, and that's okay. I know some of our books are for some readers, and some they won't read our others, and that's okay too. But you don't stop just because someone says you can't publish that or you can't write that. Just keep writing.
Those are some wonderful words of wisdom and nuggets to take away for our aspiring writers and those who are in that writing process now. So how can our viewers and those who will watch by replay purchase your books and connect with you on social media if you guys are into all of that?
We are a little bit. We have a website. It's the-ogueras with an S.com, theogueras.com, and all of our stuff links from that. All of our books are on Amazon and Kindle, so our ebook. So we have that. We're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Tumblr. Just Lori O'Gara, Brendan and Lori O'Gara. The O'Garas were super easy.
That's how you find us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can catch the O'Garas on all of their social media platforms, as well as check out their website. And you definitely want to go to Amazon to pick up the latest and greatest. And of course, this is Read a New Book Month. So since we are reading a new book for the month of December during the Read a New Book Month, why not pick up The Traveler's Song, or why not pick another great title from the O'Garas? So we want to thank both Brendan and Lori O'Gara for being with us on today and spending this afternoon time to talk about The Traveler's Song. And we wish them all the success in the world with all of their writing and every genre that they choose to write. And we're going to tell our viewers and those who will catch us by replay to make sure that you're staying tuned to the PharSide Co-Ed Book Club Facebook page for more author interviews and posts as we celebrate Read a New Book Month. in December, as well as check us out for our reads for 2022 to sign up for our reading challenge for 2022. So you definitely want to stay tuned to our Facebook page for that information. So thank you again, Brendan and Lori O'Gara, and to our viewers and supporters and those who read along with us. Until next time, many roots, many voices are a part of the infinite story. So plant your seed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brendan and Lori. And I'm reading and loving the book and the story, and definitely look forward to all of the things you've got coming down the line. I will be sending you the audio and the video to your interview, so you can cut, edit, and do whatever you want with it on your social media. And again, thank you so much for your time with us today.
Thanks for inviting us. It was
fun.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great afternoon.
You too.